On this edition of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast, celebrating the baseball life of Jarome Iginla. And we continue our 1 through 9 Academy profiles with a look at St. Joseph Baseball Academy in Red Deer. Welcome to episode number 20 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland. Hard to believe we're actually up to 20 episodes now. Thanks so much to all of you who have taken the time to listen to this or any of the other episodes. What we'd love to hear is, which is your favorite? Drop us a line on social media or as part of your reviews in Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. On to this week's episode, we're going to start things off talking about a guy who isn't exactly remembered for his life in baseball. This past weekend, the Calgary Flames held a special ceremony to raise his number 12 to the rafters at the Scotiabank Saddledome. While his feats in hockey were amazing, a few people learned he was also quite the baseball player growing up in St. Albert. Our own Ian Wilson put together a great write-up at albertadugoutstories.com after a conversation he had with Iginla's friend Bill Russell. Here's just some of that conversation.
What can you tell me just about what you saw in him as, just even growing up? Like, was he just kind of a naturally gifted athlete from the start?
Well, I know that... I don't know if I'd want to say necessarily gifted, because I know that he doesn't like that. Like, he's a guy that has he has been very extremely fortunate. So he'd be the first one to tell you that with his career, obviously with hockey, and then just with family and all that. So he's been as he would say, very blessed and fortunate, and to be able to do what he's done. But he worked for everything that he's got as well. So. He had a lot of support from his grandparents, especially growing up, and his mom were kind of the biggest influences for him. And it was a lot of times his grandparents bringing him to the baseball diamond when they were younger, and his grandpa would even be helping on the PA and announcing, some of the games and the next batter's up and kind of doing that. And even getting a little carried away, doing a little play-by-play sometimes when he probably shouldn't have. So Jerome will be the first to tell you, he get booted out of a couple baseball diamonds and probably a couple hockey rinks back in the day. But he was always in our corner for sure, and obviously in Jerome's corner. So he was, the biggest supporter. And definitely, I'd say he was gifted with the love of sports and the love of hockey and baseball. Really all sports. He was a real good basketball player too, like on our junior high team we played together, and he was probably our top player on that team. And in baseball, I was a pitcher, he was as well. Every time I pitch, he would catch. So we kind of had that great relationship together, and he was the best catcher that I ever pitched with, and or pitched to. So just an overall, just really a tremendous athlete growing up, and he was really good at pretty well everything he did. And we'd have long tennis matches, and it was always it was either for money or it was for usually we didn't have a bunch back then, so maybe it wasn't money, but it was kind of always the bragging rights, and it was he'd never let it down either, and neither would we if we ever got a couple wins off of him. So that was kind of the biggest thing was the competitiveness from a young age. He hated to lose, and he kind of never want to go out a loser. It was always that double or nothing kind of thing. So, but that's kind of how he was growing up for sure. But worked hard at everything he did, and always tried to get better. As far as baseball, the hockey, everything, he was always practicing, and always took everything seriously with sports, and he was dominant in several sports. Yeah.
Usually when you're in those teenage years and kind of getting into little league and a little bit above, then you kind of play around the whole diamond. Was that how it was with Jarome? You mentioned he was a pitcher, and from what I've read, a pretty good one. An article I was reading said he could dial it up to 90 miles per hour, and I think I also read about him pitching a no-hitter as well. So he had that aspect, but did he play all over the diamond as well?
Yeah, like he was mainly pitching and catching, but he also spent he spent time at shortstop because he had a strong arm. I was the first baseman, just being lefty, so it was usually a lot of times, like he was our number one catcher. There wasn't any doubt about that. He had a strong arm, so. He was throwing guys out at second. I remember he was going through his stages of the Tony Pena days where he could be on his knees and he'd still be throwing guys out from his knees as a catcher. So he was able to, he had that arm strength where he was able to do that. And he just really understood the game. So for the most part, it was kind of, starting pitching. He'd be used in relief as well, just because he could come in and throw hard for a couple innings if we needed it, but also he started, most of the time. I don't think he ever really got it up to 90, I'll have to say. I don't know if he might have threw a little harder than I did, possibly, but he didn't have the same movement I was telling on his ball. But anyway, no, he was a fireballer for our age for sure. And like I say, yeah, shortstop, he would play quite a bit of that, and it was short. Catching and pitching for sure. So pretty well wherever we needed him. I don't think he really hit the outfield much, but middle infield, and then the pitching and catching were his big strengths, and then he was a great hitter. So there's no doubt about that. And he always took that challenge when he was never intimidated. So I think that was a big part of him growing up and I'm sure a lot of kids could learn from it. He was never intimidated. So the harder a pitcher threw. He was usually one of the only guys that would get hits off of him. At younger ages, you see some of these kids that come in and they're throwing, 55 or 60 in Mosquito, and you're thinking, holy geez, like you barely, kids get intimidated easily, or they're maybe afraid, and he wasn't. He'd just get up there and he'd almost move up in the box rather than moving back in the box, and he really want to challenge that pitcher and challenge him to throw it by him, and he'd want to go best on best, like throw me your fastball and I'll hit it type thing, right? So he was never afraid. That was a big thing.
And how long, obviously his hockey career took off at a certain age and he had to choose a sport. And the newspaper article I read, right after he got drafted, also said that there was a time he was considering doing multiple sports and doing baseball and hockey. How serious did he talk to you about possibly doing that? Obviously Bo Jackson wasn't too far off in those days either.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I think that he knew that, hockey was his thing. Absolutely, he loved baseball. There's absolutely we went to Nova Scotia for the Nationals, and I can't remember what age we would have been, probably 11 or 12, similar to what our own kids are. Right now, our oldest boys mine's 11, his is 12. So I think probably around this age is when we went to Nova Scotia for Nationals, and so we'll always remember, we've always had the best, some of the best times were definitely in baseball. But I think that I don't know honestly how hard he really looked into the baseball as a real option. I think that if he decided that he was going to go all in for baseball, he definitely would have likely had some options as far as college. But I think that he by that time he was pretty dominant in hockey, right, as a young underage bantam player playing in the midget AAA league. So I'm pretty sure after that happened and after he was recruited by Kamloops, I think hockey or baseball obviously had to take a back seat at that point. So by the time junior hockey started, I think that baseball probably still played a bit because in midget, but I think that for baseball, but after that I don't think it really became that serious because his hockey was definitely kind of taking a stranglehold on the future for him. So definitely
I don't think anyone would argue that he chose the wrong sport. When they're raising numbers to the rafters and, like I said, you're winning gold medals and doing the things that he did in his hockey career, you'd never say that. But just going down that alternate road, do you think he could have played pro ball or could have been drafted MLB had he focused on that? Like where does he rank in how talented of athletes that you played with on the diamond were? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt. If he really chose that he was going to go, if he was going to go the baseball route, I would have no doubts that he would have had, some really good opportunities in baseball. So, and a lot of it just comes from that competitiveness, the athleticism, right? Like he was a top player here back in the day where we didn't have a lot of extra training options available, not like kids do now. And I guess, unfortunately, the only thing that might have been against him and really anybody at that time coming out of St. Albert for baseball was the fact that we were in St. Albert for baseball. Like, the scouting, and we had the Mike Johnsons and Joe Young, guys like that when we were playing. But not too many other guys. Like the scouts just weren't really there as much as they may be now. I know that being involved with baseball here now in St. Albert and just baseball Alberta, coaching in it last year. I mean, the options now for ball are there's so many more now, and so many more scholarships for kids playing ball in kind of like maybe the Edmonton, Calgary, and surrounding areas. It's probably more than ever. But back when we were playing, there just wasn't. You really had to be some kind of a standout to be able to be noticed. And if you didn't throw, 88 or 90, they probably weren't even going to come out and watch because they had to come from so far, right? So, But I mean, if he really decided that that's what he was going to do, I have no doubt that he would have been able to play at least at a good college school and really get into like some. We had good coaching here for our area, but really getting into real baseball coaching and like into the U.S. and taking such an athlete like he was and then developing him. Absolutely, I think he could have had a career in that if he chose to. And we always talked about how and I was always the same. And it's funny how our kids I think are kind of the same, but it's like in the summer their favorite sport is baseball, and it's like hockey's great, but right now like my favorite sport is baseball because it's just awesome to get out there. And Jerome was always like the same way. And then hockey was the favorite sport in the winter, but baseball in the summer, and that's I think it's a great thing, and we were able to kind of have that mental shift from one sport to the other and develop that athleticism for sure. So no doubt, baseball was a huge factor for him in doing what he did, having those successes in hockey.
Is there any specific memories that come to mind of Jarome on the diamond? Anything that you kind of either specific plays or specific games where you're like, wow, like that really kind of took your breath away?
Man, we spent so many years, on the diamond, and I really can't remember one specific play, but I really think that just being the guy, like I remember, like we faced Joe Young, and he was when we were I can't remember if he was out of Confederation Park or where he was playing out of. We were facing him in a game and at Legion Ball Diamonds in St. Albert, and he came in and he was legitimately throwing 90 miles an hour, and it was, I mean, that was something else to kind of see that live. I mean, you could hear the whistle on that baseball from the dugout, right? Like it was something else, and he might have been the only player on our team to get a hit off him, and it was just that challenging. And Joe Young was a big kid back then. Like he was big and strong and heavy, and he was pretty intimidating on the mound, especially when you're throwing that hard, right? And Jerome just stepped right in there, and he was just dialed in and focused, and he wasn't defensive. He was aggressive, and it might have been the first or second pitch he threw that he ripped it up the middle for a single. And I think everybody at that point was like, okay, well. We're going to have to pitch to this guy a little bit differently maybe now, regardless of how hard we throw. So, yeah, I do remember that being I don't remember the age, but it was, we were pretty young, but it would have still been, like in probably early, maybe first year midget, for a guy to throw that hard, right? But, so it just all the times that we had in the, in baseball and driving in his grandparents' like kind of camper van that they had and driving out to the small towns in Lacombe and rainouts and things that we do in between the rainouts, and grabbing burgers in between double headers in Fort Saskatchewan. Probably the best burgers that we ever had, probably during the double headers in between, right? So nowadays everybody wants their kids to go have a sub or eat some fruit or something in between double headers, and those were the good old days where you could actually go, and we kind of earned those burgers, I think, halfway, through the double headers, right? So
yeah.
those memories are big for me, and I'm sure they would be for Jerome.
We now continue our look at Alberta's baseball schools with our 1 through 9 series, and this is one of the new kids on the block. St. Joseph Baseball Academy in Red Deer is just a year old now, serving Central Alberta for not only baseball, but softball as well. You can head to albertadugoutstories.com for the full write-up on the school. I also caught up with head teacher Jason Chatwood. Jason, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit about your school and your academy and what you guys are all about.
So this is the inaugural year, first year, second year of our school, first year with the Ball Academy. So, started up it made official last spring that the academy was going to come forward this year. So first move they made, they hired Scott Murray as the director of the program, and then the next piece is they had to find the teacher, lead instructor, and that's where they started the hiring process, and I was fortunate enough to get the position.
You've been around Red Deer for a while. What does it mean to be giving back to the community in this way?
Oh, it's huge. Yeah. So born and raised in Innisfail, grew up playing in Innisfail, and then kind of made the switch once I was able to start playing at the AAA, once you were able to come in as an import. And played in Red Deer all the way through, and then with the Team Alberta stuff, and then went on to play college and university, and just something that you never knew if an opportunity like this would ever present itself close to home, and it did. So it was something that I'm super fortunate, like I said, to get the opportunity, and just loving coming every day to work with the kids and coming to school.
And not only that, but you also have someone pretty close to you right beside you with Heather. Talk about that aspect of things.
Yeah, it's been good. She's been kind of on maternity leave this year with our second boy.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. So it's been kind of having her been able to come in, and obviously her resume speaks for itself. It's pretty amazing having her come in, and it's been pretty cool to watch her and see what she does with the softball piece with the girls, and it's cool for us too. I mean, a lot of the stuff is so similar for us to talk at home or bounce ideas off each other and do that kind of piece too. So it's been pretty cool to have her come in whenever she's available to work with the girls, and having Scott and Terry Hunter as well on the softball side with Terry and Scott with the baseball has been outstanding. I
was going to ask about that side of it, because that might be something that's different from a lot of the other academies out there, is that you guys have the softball side. Was that something that you were thinking of right off the bat to give you a little bit of an edge that way, or how did that all come to be?
To be honest with you, that decision was made before I was even I was in the picture. I think when they both sports, I guess, in Central Alberta are really taking off and having success with the Red Deer associations, but also the Central Alberta associations for both baseball and softball. And I think that they really wanted to make that push to provide something for the girls in that softball factor as well. So, I think kind of everyone had that same thing. No one really knows what year one is ever going to look like in something. But yeah, I think so far it's made a success, and we've already been having quite a few kids that are registering for next year. So I think both programs kind of be able to take off on their own.
That's fantastic to hear. Talk a little bit about the facilities that you guys have, some of the amenities that you guys are providing for your students.
Yeah, well, the school is brand new, like I said, and it's state of the art. So it's the field house it's outstanding. So the one thing that I truly find is it's the space that we have. It's no longer just like being able to throw a little bit or hit a little bit or be able to take the ground ball. We're still able to do so many things at regular distance and get those live reps too, to where kids, even We all know what our weather's like up here at times. We're able to not only get reps, but we're able to get better and challenge the kids in different environments and different atmospheres and really push them. Weight room is outstanding, and that's a huge focus that we do too. And then obviously, as of right now, we're in the talks and we're hoping to get an on-site field right here. But we've been fortunate enough to when we've needed to, we have the facilities at Great Chief Park.
For the students, what's a typical day for them like?
Well, so right now they have their regular classes in the morning for them. So they would be regularly timetabled in their course, and we have our junior high academy kids that they'll come over. We have our joint St. Thomas is kind of our feeder school. So then I will see them right after lunch, our junior high kids. And then last period of the day is where the two programs are kind of set. Next year might look a little bit different as far as they might have different times throughout the day. Everything kind of is based on numbers because we're able to offer this during the school day.
Right.
So that'll always depend on what our numbers are like for next year, but it's looking like there's going to be more times offered throughout the day.
How fun is it to be a part of something like this where it's new and you're kind of getting to grow the program to the needs of the community?
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I liked it the best is for me to be a part of it. I mean, I left my job that I was at for 8 years in Sylvan, and I loved it, but it was a kind of a leap of faith for me to come over here to get this opportunity. And I think for kids too, it's sometimes it's a big move. You're switching schools to take a new opportunity to get an experience to reach a goal that you're trying to set. So for me, it's been outstanding, and I think the cool thing is we get to create this thing from ground up, like you said, and we're trying to build a culture and hold the kids accountable and set those expectations for them. And I think the goal for us is where our expectations are now for the kids, that those will just become standards. And to me, I think it's starting to happen when the kids are holding themselves to those standards and they know what it takes and what we expect of them. So I think when they're holding themselves to those standards, that's when you start to see a little bit of success and that culture pieces. Next year, I'm excited about next year because we're having so many of the kids return. So it won't be that big what if or that new piece. It'll be a little more familiarity for us coaches and the players as well.
How much of what you're doing at the school is based off of maybe some of the gaps that you saw as you were going through the system, getting yourself to Colby and getting yourself to Gonzaga and all these different places? Is that what you're trying to maybe address here or what you hope to address here? How much molding are you doing based off of your own previous experience?
Yeah, I think a lot. I mean, it was obviously a lot. The academies didn't even exist when I was in high school, so it was you'd find a gym or you'd find whatever you could do to play catch at whatever time. So I think sometimes the kids maybe don't realize how easy they have it as far as the accessibility for facilities and use and that thing. But yeah, I think a lot of that is our big goal is player development, regardless of the level or ability of the students. So we preach that a lot and have them set their goals. And I think by them setting their goals, it allows us to hold them accountable for that piece. But yeah, I would say we're trying to prepare them the best that we can to give them an opportunity to play at that next level, wherever that looks like for them, whether it's a student whose goal is to make a AAA team or to play at the Team Alberta level or even play at the post-secondary level and hopefully really receive a scholarship.
And that's got to be the end goal, right? Is that they can become better, they can stay in their own community, one, in terms of especially, you talk about Okotoks and you talk about Vauxhall and you talk about all the different ones. So this is a real central part of the province that now has a place to kind of own in on those baseball skills. But even beyond that is that they become part of the community and they can grow into somebody that can play ball maybe down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, all those programs that you mentioned are all outstanding and very established programs. And of course, we have good programs. Not good. We have amazing programs even in the province that we can look to and talk to them and reach out to see kind of what they're doing and some of the things that they do and those pieces. And yeah, like I use a lot of the contacts that I have down south just to see what they're doing and what they're looking for, or certain things that they would like to see. For example, so we've had, one of our grade 12s is got a scholarship, Jaron Arnold. He's going to Minot State University next year. So his programming looks a little bit different than some of our other kids because it specifies to him and what they really want him to focus on for next year. So the thing I really, really like about it is it has that school setting and you're part of your culture, you're part of the program. And it has that feel where you're part of that post-secondary too. You go to classes in the morning and then you go have lunch, and then after lunch it's time to, whether it be in the weight room or time to get on the field or get indoors for your indoor workouts. So it's try to base a lot of that on that piece.
When you look at the talent here and you look at the talent in Central Alberta, it's got to be pretty exciting to see some of this talent growing, and especially given I keep mentioning the fact that you have hockey, which has got its cost implications, and you have football, and everybody's talking concussions, and so there are parents who are looking for that opportunity in other sports, and baseball seems to be that one. So how do you grade some of the talent that you're seeing baseball-wise here in our province?
Well, province-wide, I think it's outstanding. I think it's I think Alberta's always had some very, very talented players. Like, there's no questions. You look at where guys have went over the years and not only went, but they've went and had some success. And I think that a lot of those guys are back and they're giving back, and you can see throughout, other associations or other academies or whatever it is. And I think a lot of the stuff that they went and they got to do is getting passed on now to kids at a younger age, and they're creating those habits and skills and work ethics, and it's the game's growing in itself, and I think it's I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the success that the Blue Jays have had recently, and you have some younger kids, but I know Red Deer alone, the minor ball association numbers are growing, and I know the softball is growing, and so I think that has something to see, and then I think that the coaches and the parents that are giving these kids those opportunities to grow and succeed, it's awesome. And we still do, we love our kids to be able to play multiple sports while still being in the academy as well, whether it be if they're wanting to play basketball, or we have a few that still play hockey and that piece. But you're right, the cost-effective piece is there, and it's exciting because there are some talented players. There's kids, you look at Straka from Calgary and the fast steps that he made up to the big league level, or kids that are going right out of high school to play at a high level of college or the junior national team or things like that. So I think it's extremely exciting baseball in the province, and I think I'm happy to be a part of it, and I'm looking forward to being more a part of it in the future.
You mentioned something that made my brain go, was the multi-sport aspect of it. And I know at certain points throughout the last number of years there's been that thought process of needing to specialize. Is that something that you guys are really hoping that kids take away from their experience at your school, is the ability or the desire, if you want to try different things and maybe become a better all-around athlete versus being specialized in one position in one sport?
Yeah, I agree. I think that being versatile in multiple sports and in different facets of the sports will actually help you in your primary sport. So I think do I think that as kids are getting older, I'm sure a lot of them are picking that primary sport where they really, really want to focus on. But I think it also is extremely important that if they are wanting to and they have the ability to do those other sports, then go do them and challenge yourself, because you might hear or learn something from a different coach in a different sport that resonates with you in your primary sport that you're wanting to play at a high level. So I was fortunate enough. I had some great hockey coaches along the way, or different sports and different levels that I know helped me as I got to higher levels in baseball for sure.
Final question for you, and I've asked this of every academy thus far, is how do you define success?
That's an interesting question. I think that I would success for us is like I said, it's player development, but I think even bigger than that, it's on that personal development side. So we are like, for us, I think success is if when a student graduates from Jason St. Joseph High School and they're part of our academy, they're ready for the real world, and we've created them and helped them build skills to be a good teammate and have a good work ethic and have a good perspective on things and that work ethic, and know what it takes to make some sacrifices and take care of yourself and be there for one another. And because I think those are the skills in the big picture where, like everybody, at some time the sport is going to finish for you. You know, whether it's baseball or softball, and you know, those skills, and we're lucky, I think, as coaches, we get to impact kids and we get to teach them those lifelong skills, part of a game. So I think that's a special thing, because, you know, obviously the skill, and we want to help as many kids get to the next level that we can, but we want them to be successful and realize that their school is important and their study is important, and those work habits in the classroom and the work habits in the weight room and the work habits on and off the field and how you present yourself as a person, that's what's really, really important. 'Cause like I said, and you know, the game's going to be over at some point, and you need to have those habits that make you a good husband or make you a good wife or a good mom or a good dad, and you know, can contribute in society and get a job and work hard for what you deserve and what you can get.
Absolutely. Jason, I do appreciate your time, and thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Awesome. I appreciate it, and just want to say thanks for all you're doing for showcasing the games throughout the province. I've loved and following you guys and seeing everything you guys are doing, and it's great to see how you guys are promoting like you said, the talent of Alberta and all the great things that are happening across the game.
Thanks to Bill Russell and Jason Chatwood again for joining us this week on the podcast. And as always, a big thank you to you for supporting Alberta Dugout Stories. We'll chat again next week.